It's good to be here joining Global Classroom yet again. Welcome, everyone. I'm Andrew. I'm a National Geographic Fellow and Explorer, where I work to support young people who are taking action to protect our shared planet. You know, some of you may not know this, but nearly 50% of the world's population is under the age of 25. And what that means to me is that we can't solve any of the most important issues facing our planet without the leadership, urgency, and creativity that young people bring to the table. However, as young leaders, it's also important that we take care of ourselves and especially our minds. So I just want to say to everyone out there in the midst of this global pandemic who is feeling anxious or worried or concerned for your family or the future of the world, I want you to know that you're not alone. We all have these feelings. I have these feelings, and that talking about them, sharing them, and focusing intentionally on our mental health is the only way that we're going to be able to overcome. So at National Geographic, we use the power of science, exploration, education, and storytelling to illuminate and protect the wonder of our world. And we're also focused on how we can support young people and foster the movements, organizations, and inventions you and your peers are already driving. So today, I am really honored to be welcomed, to be joined by Dr. Tierney Thys. Dr. Thys is a biologist, a filmmaker, and a research associate at California Academy of Sciences. She was named a National Geographic Emerging Explorer in 2004, and has since received numerous grants from the National Geographic Society for a diversity of projects. Dr. Thys is an explorer in the truest sense of the word, and is deeply connected to understanding our relationship to nature, not just whether or not we recycle and reduce our use of plastics, but our emotional and social relationship with the environment around us. So without further ado, Dr. Thys, please take it away.
Oh, thank you so much, Andrew. It's just such an honor to be in this event, and thank you all for putting it on. I'd like to start today just by immersing ourselves in nature for a few moments and take a couple deep breaths, and let's just be in the natural world. So let's run a video for that. Now, maybe while you've been watching that, you've felt your shoulders relax a little bit. Your breathing slow down. Just turns out that being in nature does your mind and body a lot of good. So let me just switch to here, and we will. So it turns out that that's why physicians around the world have started prescribing time in nature as part of their medicine. The Japanese, for example, have a practice called Shinrin-yoku, which translates to forest bathing. And this is where their patients go into the forest and they let the sights and sounds and smells wash away their stresses. There's a growing mountain of studies and showing the wide range of benefits the natural world can bring our bodies and our minds. For instance, having greenery in your neighborhood reduces crime. Having a plant in your workplace increases productivity. Even just looking at nature can have these beneficial effects. In hospitals, having a view on greenery can speed your healing and reduce the amount of painkillers you need. And in school, it's so important. Having greenery around your school can enhance your attention and your focus. So knowing all these amazing benefits, how do we actually figure out how nature works? Well, we've got some really cool tools that we use to measure nature's effect on our well-being and our mental health. This little tool is called a galvanic skin sensor, and it measures sweat, which is an indication of how stressed we are. This is a picture of cortisol, which is a hormone that we produce, a chemical, a substance we produce when we're stressed, and we can measure levels of that in our saliva. And we can dive into the brain. This is amazing to figure out nature's effect on us, because that's, the brain's controlling so many things. It's an amazing organ that weighs just 3 pounds, but it devours 20% of what we're eating. If you laid out all the neurons in your brain, you could circle the earth more than 2 times. It actually contains 100 billion neurons. That's the same number of stars that are in our Milky Way. And these neurons are firing off all the time. You're using 100% of your brain. Don't believe that story that you only use 10% of your brain. You're using 100% of your brain, and it's making these electrical signals that we can measure with equipments like these headsets called electroencephalography headsets. They're measuring the electrical signals your brain is putting out, like alpha waves and beta waves. And it turns out that when we look at nature imagery, that puts us into an alpha wave state, which is correlated with meditative and relaxed states. So it's really affecting our brain waves in this way. We don't get into that same mental state when we're looking at busy city scenes, but when we look at nature, we do see this. To explore into deeper parts of the brain, we can use tools like functional magnetic resonance imagers, and they're measuring blood flow. When a part of the brain is very active, it requires more blood flow. So we can see the parts of the brain that are becoming very active when we're looking out at the natural world and compare that to when we're looking at busy city streets. And it turns out when we're looking at beautiful nature imagery, a part of the brain known as the nucleus accumbens is ignited, and that is our pleasure center. That's part of our reward pathway. So it turns out that looking at beautiful nature makes us feel pleasure deep in our brain. Interestingly, when we make the choice and the decision to help protect areas and to donate to good causes to protect nature, that same part of the brain becomes activated. So as a filmmaker and a scientist, I'm deeply curious about the visual elements in nature imagery that influence behavior. And it turns out, and we can use all these cool tools to figure that out. Turns out that mountains and ocean and those long distance views, those are some potent elements. And having tools like what I've shared with you help us find those answers. The importance of nature to our mental health, it has never been more important, especially now when more and more of us, more than half of us, live in cities than in the country. And cities tend to wall off nature, but they don't have to. Take, for instance, Singapore. Singapore has dedicated over half of its space to being covered in some sort of green, like these amazing, spectacular gardens by the bay. And that may have something to do with the fact that Singapore is always comes up as one of the happiest places to be. I love this cover of National Geographic. So, are you feeling stressed, unfocused, overwhelmed? Well, all I could tell you is try nature. Knowing all the good that nature does for our brains and our well-being, well, hopefully we can all work together, feel restored, and return the favor.
Dr. Tierney, thank you so much for sharing that information. I think a lot of us might love nature intuitively, but the way that you've connected the science and the biology behind it is really very useful, and just to know that for those of us who might be feeling some anxiety or mental health challenges, that there's something maybe right outside of our door that might be able to help us with that. I'm wondering though, I mean, this is such cool research that you're engaged in, and we've only touched the surface. But thinking back, how old were you when you first realized that you had a passion for the environment? Is there a story that you can share with us?
Oh, well, I can't remember a time when I didn't love being outdoors and love studying animals and tracking animals. I mean, and the ocean for as long as I can remember, really. And I found that, I always wanted to study zoology, biology and zoology. I remember, for being with animals, but then reading zoology textbooks was like opening a treasure map. All these secrets that were revealed to me. I just loved it. And I remember learning, oh, well, that's how a fish swims so gracefully, and that's how a cheetah is able to run so fast. And oh my word, I'm related to redwood trees and whales. We all share the same common ancestor. That's amazing. I'm part of this 4 billion-year-old story of life. And I'm not just connected to life, I'm related to life. I'm not alone. I've got the most amazing family tree out there. So studying life and biology was just always a passion.
Absolutely. And, I think that there may be some young people watching right now who are just at the beginning of their love affair with nature and their journey. But also, just understanding that in this moment with the pandemic and everything else that our world is facing, it's a little bit more challenging than normal to get exposed to nature and to experience nature. And so I'm wondering, as an expert in your field, if you have any advice for young people who are maybe locked inside, but who are searching for this connection that you described.
Yeah, well, there's lots. I mean, of course, if you can put the sky overhead and the soil underfoot, that's a good start. And if you get in water, that's even better. But there's some really great resources out there. The Children in Nature Network has great resources, online resources for connecting internationally. Jane Goodall's Roots and Shoots. But if you are truly stuck inside and you can't get outside, try growing something. Just take a seed and plant it. And it's just, you could do that on your kitchen table and watch a seed sprout. All you have to do is add sunlight and water, and this miracle happens right on your kitchen table. Try to connect yourself by growing something. And just know that nature can be your best therapist. Nature, when you're feeling stressed, just try to get some outside time. The vitamin D from the sunlight will do you good. The fresh air will enhance all the microbes living inside your body that make you healthy, your microbiome. And me being an ocean person, I think if you could just find a body of water like a stream or a river or a lake or the ocean, it turns out that stress is water soluble. So that would be a good thing too.
And Dr. Thys, you and I had spoken about this a little bit earlier, and since our conversation, I've actually begun cultivating some green onions in my house from some leftover food scraps. So in even 2 days, it's grown so much, and it is a really nice, peaceful thing to watch. The last question I have for you, Dr. Thys, I mean, you've been all over the world. And really just admiring the beauty of nature. I'm wondering, what is the most beautiful place that you've ever seen in person?
Oh boy, Andrew, that is just an impossible thing to answer because our planet has so much beauty. It has so much beauty. and you know, from the mountains of the Himalayas to the reefs of Australia to just the, you know, the Big Sur coast where I live, and you know, there are so many. We are so honored to be inhabitants on spaceship Earth, such a beautiful spaceship that we hurtle through space on. I can't pick a favorite, but I think one of the most beautiful thing is seeing when my kids are outside, just seeing the love they have of the outdoors, and how it brings smiles to their faces and to their friends' faces, and seeing that interaction. I think that's one of the most beautiful things about being in the natural world, is the effect it has on people and my family and just everyone.
Well, thank you, Dr. Tierney. Your admiration and love for nature is infectious, and I hope that many of the young people watching felt what I'm feeling now as well. You know, folks, our world is truly facing unprecedented challenges. A global pandemic, a climate emergency, refugee crisis, just to name a few. And while all of these challenges take different forms, all of them require the passion and the creativity, like I said earlier, of young people if they're going to be solved. But it's so important that we take care of ourselves while we are solving problems in our community. I just want to invite everyone to join GenGeo. You can find it #GenGeo on any platform. GenGeo is a global community of young people who are prioritizing empathy, tenacity, and really embracing a passion to fight for what's right in our world. And so if that sounds like something you're interested in, if you're looking for a community of young people who are committed to solving problems in their communities, check out GenGeo. National Geographic wants to be here for you.